Get out and stay out, Maya. This is my business now, and I don't need you here anymore, Dylan spat, his words cutting through the air like shards of glass as he gestured toward the bustling coffee shop that bore both their names above the entrance. The same coffee shop that had been 3 weeks away from bankruptcy before Maya had emptied her entire savings account, liquidated her investment portfolio, and even borrowed against her 401k to inject $45,000 into Dylan's failing venture. The same establishment where she had worked 18-hour days for 6 months without taking a single dollar in salary, where she had redesigned the menu, implemented new inventory systems, and personally trained every single employee who now avoided eye contact as her brother's cruel dismissal echoed through the space they had rebuilt together. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Maya Rodriguez stood frozen in the doorway of Brew and Bean Cafe, her laptop bag still slung over her shoulder from the marketing presentation she had just finished delivering to potential corporate clients who were interested in catering contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. The presentation that could have secured their financial future and transformed the struggling neighborhood cafe into a thriving enterprise had gone better than she could have hoped, with 3 companies expressing serious interest in long-term partnerships that would guarantee steady revenue streams for the next 2 years. She had rushed back to share the incredible news with Dylan, expecting celebration and gratitude for the business development work that had consumed her evenings and weekends for the past 3 months. Instead, she found herself on the receiving end of the most devastating betrayal she had ever experienced. The morning had started like any other Tuesday in downtown Portland, Oregon, with Maya arriving at the cafe at 5:30 in the morning to prep for the breakfast rush while Dylan remained comfortably asleep in his apartment above the shop. Their division of labor had evolved naturally over the months since she had invested her life savings into saving his dream, with Maya handling the operational management, financial planning, marketing, and customer service, while Dylan focused on what he called the creative aspects of running a coffee shop, which primarily involves selecting music playlists and occasionally experimenting with new drink recipes when the mood struck him. The cafe occupied a prime corner location in the Pearl District, with floor-to-ceiling windows that flooded the space with natural light and created an inviting atmosphere that had attracted a loyal customer base before Dylan's poor financial management had driven the business to the brink of closure. The original concept had been solid, featuring locally sourced ingredients, artisanal coffee beans, and a cozy environment that appealed to freelancers, students, and neighborhood residents who craved a third space between home and work. However, Dylan's lack of business acumen and his tendency to prioritize expensive aesthetic upgrades over practical operational necessities had created a financial catastrophe that required immediate intervention to prevent bankruptcy. Maya had discovered the depth of the cafe's financial crisis purely by accident during a family dinner 6 months earlier when their mother had casually mentioned her concern about Dylan potentially losing his business. The revelation that her younger brother was facing foreclosure and had been hiding the severity of his financial problems from the family had prompted Maya to conduct her own investigation into the cafe's books, revealing a shocking pattern of mismanagement that included unpaid vendor bills, overdue rent, and depleted cash reserves that could not sustain operations for more than a few weeks. Her background in business development and financial analysis, honed through 5 years of experience at a prominent consulting firm, had enabled her to quickly assess the scope of the problems while identifying potential solutions that could restore the cafe to profitability with adequate capital injection and operational restructuring. The analysis had revealed that the business possessed strong fundamentals in terms of location, customer demand, and product quality, but suffered from chronic cash flow problems and inefficient operational processes that drained resources without generating corresponding revenue increases. The decision to invest her personal savings into Dylan's business had not been made lightly or impulsively, despite the family emergency that demanded immediate action. Maya had spent 2 weeks conducting thorough due diligence, analyzing financial records, evaluating market conditions, and developing a comprehensive business plan that outlined specific strategies for achieving sustainable profitability within 12 months of her investment. Her professional experience with troubled companies had provided the expertise necessary for creating realistic projections and implementation timelines that addressed both immediate survival needs and long-term growth objectives. The $45,000 had represented the entirety of Maya's liquid financial assets, accumulated through years of disciplined saving, strategic investing, and careful budgeting that reflected her commitment to building long-term financial security and independence. The money had originally been designated for a down payment on a condominium in the trendy Northwest District, where she had been planning to establish roots and build equity through real estate investment. Sacrificing this goal to save Dylan's cafe had required abandoning her carefully planned timeline for homeownership while depleting the financial foundation she had built through years of professional achievement and personal sacrifice. The investment had come with clear conditions and expectations that Dylan had eagerly agreed to during their initial negotiations about the business partnership. Maya had insisted on formal documentation of her financial contribution, including a partnership agreement that granted her equal ownership stakes and decision-making authority in exchange for her capital investment and operational involvement. The legal framework had been designed to protect her interests while ensuring that her business expertise would guide the cafe's strategic direction and day-to-day management until it achieved sustainable profitability. Dylan's enthusiastic acceptance of these terms had seemed genuine and appropriate given the desperate circumstances that threatened his business survival and the significant personal sacrifice Maya was making to provide salvation. The transformation of Brew and Bean Cafe over the subsequent 6 months had exceeded even Maya's optimistic projections for operational improvement and revenue growth. Her systematic approach to addressing the business's fundamental problems had begun with renegotiating vendor and payment schedules that provided immediate relief from crushing debt obligations while establishing sustainable terms for ongoing operations. The vendor negotiations had required leveraging her professional relationships and financial credibility to secure agreements that prevented supply disruptions while creating manageable payment structures. Staff training and operational efficiency improvements had followed, with Maya developing comprehensive training programs that enhanced customer service quality while reducing waste and improving productivity across all aspects of cafe operations. Her background in process optimization had enabled her to identify numerous inefficiencies that had been draining resources and compromising customer satisfaction without providing any corresponding benefits to the business or its employees. Menu redesign and pricing optimization addressed another critical weakness in Dylan's original business model, with Maya conducting market research and competitive analysis that informed strategic changes to product offerings and pricing structures. The new menu featured items with higher profit margins while maintaining the artisanal quality and local sourcing that differentiated the cafe from chain competitors in the surrounding area.
The comprehensive approach to business rehabilitation had required Maya to work essentially 2 full-time jobs simultaneously, maintaining her consulting responsibilities during regular business hours while managing cafe operations during evenings, weekends, and early morning shifts. The demanding schedule had strained her personal relationships and eliminated virtually all recreational activities from her life. But the visible improvements in the cafe's performance had provided motivation and validation for her sacrifices. Customer traffic had increased by more than 60% within 4 months of Maya's intervention, with daily revenue consistently exceeding projections and monthly profits reaching levels that had never been achieved during Dylan's independent operation of the business. The financial turnaround had been accompanied by improvements in customer satisfaction, employee morale, and community reputation that created sustainable foundations for continued growth and success. The catering opportunities that Maya had been pursuing represented the next phase of business development that could establish truly robust financial performance while reducing dependence on daily walk-in traffic that could be affected by weather, seasonal patterns, or economic fluctuations. Corporate catering contracts provided predictable revenue streams with higher profit margins than individual customer transactions, creating the kind of financial stability that would enable long-term planning and strategic investment in equipment and expansion. Her presentation to the 3 potential corporate clients had gone exceptionally well, with each company expressing serious interest in establishing ongoing catering relationships that would begin with trial periods and expand to comprehensive food service contracts for meetings, events, and daily office amenities. The combined value of these contracts would have tripled the cafe's monthly revenue while requiring minimal additional operational investment beyond expanded food preparation capabilities and delivery logistics. The excitement and anticipation Maya felt while driving back to the cafe to share this incredible news with Dylan had been building throughout the presentation meetings as she recognized the magnitude of the opportunity they were about to secure. The corporate contracts would have validated all the sacrifices she had made while providing financial returns that exceeded her original investment and created sustainable prosperity for both their futures. Dylan's presence in the cafe when she arrived had initially seemed normal, as he typically spent Tuesday afternoons reviewing inventory and planning for the week ahead. However, his formal posture and serious expression had immediately signaled that something significant had occurred during her absence. The presence of Marcus Chen, a local business broker whom Maya recognized but had never met personally, had added an element of mystery that became clear only when Dylan began speaking. Maya, I need to talk to you about some changes in the business structure, Dylan had begun, with a tone that suggested rehearsed delivery rather than spontaneous conversation. Marcus has been helping me explore some opportunities for expanding operations and securing additional investment that could take the cafe to the next level. The word investment had immediately triggered alarm bells in Maya's mind, as their business plan already included detailed projections for growth financing that would be needed only after the corporate catering contracts had been secured and proven successful. Additional investment at this stage would be premature and potentially harmful to the equity positions they had already established through her initial capital contribution and sweat equity over the previous months. What kind of expansion opportunities are you considering? Maya had asked, maintaining professional composure while internally preparing for information that might require careful evaluation and strategic discussion. Her experience with business development had taught her that expansion opportunities often included hidden complications that could undermine existing partnerships and operational stability if not properly managed. Marcus had stepped forward to explain that he represented a group of investors who were interested in acquiring established food service businesses with proven profitability and growth potential. The cafe's remarkable turnaround and strong financial performance had attracted their attention, creating an opportunity for a buyout that would provide immediate cash returns while enabling rapid expansion through their extensive restaurant management network. The buyout proposal had included terms that would have provided Dylan with a substantial immediate payout while transferring ownership and operational control to the investor group, who would retain him as a paid manager with reduced responsibilities and guaranteed salary compensation. The financial terms were genuinely attractive, offering returns that significantly exceeded the current valuation of the business based on traditional revenue multiples and asset assessments. However, the proposal made no mention of Maya's ownership stake, financial investment, or ongoing role in the business operations that had created the value attracting the investor's interest. When she had inquired about how the buyout would address her partnership interests, Dylan's response had revealed the true nature of the conversation and the devastating betrayal that was about to unfold. Actually, Maya, that's what I need to discuss with you, Dylan had continued, with increasing confidence that suggested he had been planning this conversation for some time. The investors are only interested in acquiring my portion of the business, and they prefer to work with a single owner who can make decisions quickly without requiring consultation with partners. The implication that her partnership was an obstacle to business success rather than the foundation that had created the turnaround had been stunning in its ingratitude and factual inaccuracy. Maya's leadership and expertise had been the primary factors driving the cafe's success, and her ongoing involvement would be essential for maintaining the operational excellence and customer relationships that made the business attractive to potential buyers. Dylan, my partnership agreement clearly establishes my ownership stake and decision-making authority in this business, Maya had replied with measured firmness that masked the growing realization that her brother was attempting to exclude her from a transaction that would only be possible because of her investment and efforts. Any sale or major business decision requires my approval as an equal partner. The legal partnership agreement that Maya had insisted upon during her initial investment had been specifically designed to prevent exactly this kind of situation, establishing clear ownership percentages and requiring unanimous consent for major business decisions, including sales, additional investment, or fundamental changes to operational structure. The document had been prepared by a qualified business attorney and included standard protections for minority partners while reflecting the equal contribution and shared risk that characterized their business relationship. Dylan's response to her reminder about the partnership agreement had revealed the extent of his preparation for this betrayal and the legal advice he had apparently received about challenging her ownership claims. Actually, Maya, Marcus has helped me understand that your investment might not qualify as a true partnership contribution since you never filed the proper paperwork with the state or updated the business registration to reflect shared ownership. The technical challenge to her partnership status had been based on administrative oversights rather than substantive legal issues, but could potentially create complications that would require expensive legal intervention to resolve. Maya realized that Dylan had been researching ways to invalidate their partnership while she had been working to improve the business they supposedly owned together.
Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story.
The business registration can be easily updated to reflect our partnership agreement, Maya had responded while mentally calculating the legal costs and time delays that would be required to resolve these administrative challenges. The partnership agreement itself establishes our relationship regardless of filing status with state agencies. Marcus had interjected to explain that the investor group needed to close the transaction quickly to meet their quarterly acquisition targets and could not afford delays associated with resolving partnership disputes or complex ownership structures. The artificial urgency was clearly designed to pressure Dylan into accepting terms that excluded Maya's interests while preventing her from pursuing legal remedies that could protect her investment and ownership rights. The conversation had continued with increasingly transparent attempts to pressure Maya into accepting a minimal buyout of her investment that would have provided only partial recovery of her financial contribution while eliminating her ownership stake and ongoing involvement in the business she had saved and rebuilt. The proposed settlement had been framed as generous compensation for her assistance rather than recognition of her legitimate partnership interests and business ownership. Maya's professional experience with business negotiations had enabled her to recognize the manipulation tactics being employed while maintaining composure that concealed her growing anger and determination to protect her interests. The situation represented not just financial betrayal, but a fundamental violation of trust that would permanently damage her relationship with Dylan regardless of how the business dispute was ultimately resolved. The revelation that Dylan had been secretly negotiating to sell the business while excluding her from discussions had demonstrated a level of deception and ingratitude that exceeded anything Maya could have imagined from a family member who owed his business survival to her sacrifices. The months of 18-hour workdays, depleted savings, and abandoned personal goals had been repaid with betrayal that threatened both her financial security and her faith in family relationships. Dylan, I need time to review the buyout proposal with my attorney before we can proceed with any discussions about business sale. Maya had stated firmly while beginning to gather her belongings and prepare for the strategic response that would be necessary to protect her interests. This conversation is premature without proper legal representation and full disclosure of all terms and conditions. The request for legal review had triggered Dylan's most aggressive response, revealing the extent of his commitment to proceeding with the transaction regardless of Maya's objections or legal rights. Maya, you need to understand that this opportunity won't wait for lengthy legal processes. The investors want to close within 2 weeks, and they're not interested in dealing with complicated partnership disputes. The ultimatum had forced Maya to recognize that Dylan was prepared to sacrifice their relationship and potentially expose himself to legal liability rather than honor their partnership agreement or acknowledge her contributions to the business success that had attracted the buyers. His willingness to proceed without her consent demonstrated a calculated decision to prioritize immediate financial gain over family loyalty and legal obligations. If you can't accept the buyout terms we're offering, then maybe it's time for you to step back from day-to-day operations and let me handle the business decisions. Dylan had continued with increasing hostility that revealed his true feelings about their partnership. This is my cafe, and I'm the one who built it into something successful. The complete revision of history that attributed the cafe's success entirely to Dylan's efforts while ignoring Maya's investment in operational leadership had been the final insult that crystallized her understanding of how thoroughly their relationship had deteriorated. The brother who had begged for her help 6 months earlier was now claiming sole credit for achievements that would have been impossible without her intervention. Maya's response had been measured and professional despite the emotional devastation she was experiencing. Dylan, the partnership agreement clearly establishes my ownership stake and decision-making authority. I will not accept terms that ignore these legal rights or undervalue my contribution to this business. The formal tone and reference to legal rights had apparently triggered Dylan's final escalation to open hostility and the cruel dismissal that had shocked everyone present in the cafe. Then get out and stay out, Maya. This is my business now, and I don't need you here anymore. The public nature of Dylan's dismissal had been particularly humiliating given the presence of employees who knew how instrumental Maya had been in saving their jobs and improving their working conditions. The staff members who had benefited from her training programs and operational improvements now witnessed her brother's ungrateful betrayal without any context about the legal and financial complexities that had prompted this confrontation. Maya's departure from the cafe had been conducted with dignity that concealed the emotional turmoil she was experiencing while beginning to formulate the strategic response that would be necessary to protect her interests and assert her ownership rights. The briefcase containing her corporate presentation materials and laptop computer represented the tools she would need to document her contributions and build the legal case that could preserve her interests in the business she had saved. The drive back to her apartment provided the first opportunity for Maya to process the magnitude of Dylan's betrayal while beginning to consider the legal and practical options available for protecting her investment and partnership rights. The $45,000 represented too significant a loss to accept without exhausting all available remedies, and the partnership agreement provided a strong legal foundation for challenging Dylan's attempt to exclude her from business ownership and decision-making. Her apartment in the Northwest District had been selected partly for its proximity to the cafe, enabling her to maintain the demanding schedule that had been necessary for managing both her consulting work and the cafe operations during the business rehabilitation period. The space reflected her professional success and financial discipline, with contemporary furnishings and technological amenities that supported her career development while providing a sanctuary from the stresses of managing two demanding professional responsibilities. The partnership agreement resided in her fireproof document safe alongside other important legal and financial records that documented her investment and ongoing involvement in the cafe operations. Reading through the carefully drafted terms and conditions reminded Maya of the optimism and trust she had felt when establishing the business relationship with Dylan, emotions that now seemed naive given his willingness to violate both the legal agreement and the family bond that had motivated her original sacrifice. The documentation of her financial investment included bank records, investment account statements, and loan paperwork that provided clear evidence of the $45,000 contribution that had saved the cafe from bankruptcy. Her apartment in the Northwest District had been selected partly for its proximity to the cafe, enabling her to maintain the demanding schedule that had been necessary for managing both her consulting work and the cafe operations during the business rehabilitation period. The space reflected her professional success and financial discipline, with contemporary furnishings and technological amenities that supported her career development while providing a sanctuary from the stresses of managing two demanding professional responsibilities. The partnership agreement resided in her fireproof document safe alongside other important legal and financial records that documented her investment and ongoing involvement in the cafe operations. Reading through the carefully drafted terms and conditions reminded Maya of the optimism and trust she had felt when establishing the business relationship with Dylan, emotions that now seemed naive given his willingness to violate both the legal agreement and the family bond that had motivated her original sacrifice. The documentation of her financial investment included bank records, investment account statements, and loan paperwork that provided clear evidence of the $45,000 contribution that had saved the cafe from bankruptcy. Additional records documented her ongoing operational involvement and the specific improvements that had driven the business turnaround, creating a comprehensive portfolio that demonstrated both her financial and sweat equity in the current success. Maya's professional network included several attorneys who specialized in business partnerships and commercial litigation, providing access to expert legal advice about the strength of her position and the options available for protecting her interests. The initial consultation would need to address both the immediate challenge of Dylan's attempted sale and the longer-term question of whether their partnership could continue functioning given the fundamental breakdown in trust and communication. The emotional processing of Dylan's betrayal required separating the personal hurt from the practical business considerations that would guide her strategic response. The family relationship had clearly been damaged beyond repair, but the financial stakes justified pursuing all available legal remedies regardless of the impact on their sibling bond. Maya's professional experience had taught her that business disputes required objective analysis and strategic thinking, rather than emotional reactions that could compromise negotiating positions. The realization that Dylan had been planning this betrayal while she worked to secure the corporate catering contracts that would have benefited both their futures added another layer of deception that demonstrated his complete disregard for their partnership and her ongoing efforts to grow the business. The timing suggested that he had been waiting for the business to reach sufficient profitability to attract buyers before attempting to exclude her from the transaction benefits. The corporate clients who had expressed interest in catering contracts represented ongoing opportunities that Maya could potentially pursue independently if her partnership with Dylan could not be preserved or fairly resolved. Her professional relationships and business development expertise were portable assets that could support alternative ventures regardless of how the cafe dispute was ultimately settled. Looking ahead to the legal and business challenges that would define the coming weeks, Maya recognized that Dylan's betrayal had created an opportunity for personal and professional growth that extended beyond the immediate financial considerations. The experience would test her negotiating skills, legal knowledge, and emotional resilience while potentially opening doors to independent business opportunities that could exceed the limited scope of partnership with someone who had proven untrustworthy. The transformation from trusting sister to strategic business adversary would require developing new capabilities in conflict resolution and legal advocacy while maintaining the professional standards and ethical principles that had guided her career development. The skills learned through this challenging experience would serve her well in future business endeavors, while providing hard-earned wisdom about the importance of protecting her interests, even in family relationships. The evening spent reviewing legal documents and planning her response strategy marked the beginning of Maya's evolution from betrayed partner to empowered businesswoman who would not allow family loyalty to override her financial security and professional integrity. The $45,000 investment had purchased more than a stake in a coffee shop. It had provided a valuable lesson about trust, documentation, and the necessity of protecting her interests even when dealing with family members who claimed to share her objectives and values. The following morning brought clarity that had been absent during the emotional turbulence of Dylan's devastating dismissal. Maya awoke before dawn with a sense of purpose that surprised her considering the magnitude of betrayal she had witnessed the previous afternoon. The partnership agreement lay spread across her dining table where she had spent hours the night before analyzing every clause and provision that established her legal rights and ownership stake in the business. She had single-handedly rescued her bankruptcy. The strategic approach that had characterized her professional consulting work would now be applied to protecting her personal interests and recovering the investment that represented years of disciplined financial planning. The $45,000 could not be written off as a family favor or charitable contribution when legal documentation clearly established her status as an equal business partner with legitimate ownership claims and decision-making authority. Her first call went to Rebecca Thornton, a business litigation attorney whose expertise in partnership disputes and commercial fraud had earned recognition throughout the Pacific Northwest legal community. Rebecca's reputation for aggressive advocacy and successful resolution of complex business conflicts made her the ideal representative for navigating the legal challenges that Dylan's betrayal had created. The initial consultation revealed that Maya's position was significantly stronger than she had realized during the emotional shock of yesterday's confrontation. The partnership agreement contained specific provisions that protected her interests against exactly the kind of exclusionary tactics that Dylan was attempting to employ.
More importantly, his failure to provide proper notice or obtain her consent for major business decisions constituted clear violations of their legal agreement that could void any transactions he pursued without her approval. Maya, the documentation you have provided establishes an exceptionally strong foundation for protecting your ownership rights and challenging any unauthorized business transactions, Rebecca observed during their morning meeting at her downtown law office. The partnership agreement was properly executed and contains comprehensive protections that your brother cannot simply ignore because he has found a buyer willing to overlook legitimate ownership claims. The legal strategy that Rebecca outlined included immediate action to prevent Dylan from proceeding with the proposed sale while building a comprehensive case that could either force recognition of Maya's partnership rights or result in substantial financial compensation for her investment and contributions. The approach would require aggressive litigation tactics that would likely destroy any remaining family relationship, but the financial stakes justified pursuing all available legal remedies. A temporary restraining order would be the first step in preventing Dylan from completing any sale or major business decision without proper legal authorization from all partners. The order would freeze business operations and financial accounts while the court reviewed the partnership dispute and determined the appropriate resolution. This legal intervention would prevent Dylan from liquidating assets or transferring ownership while Maya pursued her claims through the judicial system. The discovery process would require comprehensive examination of all business records, financial transactions, and communications that could reveal the extent of Dylan's deception and unauthorized activities. Rebecca suspected that the secret negotiations with potential buyers represented only the most recent example of decisions made without partner consultation, and additional violations might strengthen Maya's position while increasing potential damage awards. Maya's documentation of her financial investment and operational involvement provided compelling evidence of her contributions to the business success that had attracted buyer interest. The bank records, time logs, and operational improvements could be quantified to demonstrate the value she had created while establishing her legitimate claim to ownership and future profits. The timeline for legal action required immediate filing to prevent Dylan from completing the proposed transaction before court intervention could protect Maya's interests. The $45,000 could not be written off as a family favor or charitable contribution when legal documentation clearly established her status as an equal business partner with legitimate ownership claims and decision-making authority. Her first call went to Rebecca Thornton, a business litigation attorney whose expertise in partnership disputes and commercial fraud had earned recognition throughout the Pacific Northwest legal community. Rebecca's reputation for aggressive advocacy and successful resolution of complex business conflicts made her the ideal representative for navigating the legal challenges that Dylan's betrayal had created. The initial consultation revealed that Maya's position was significantly stronger than she had realized during the emotional shock of yesterday's confrontation. The partnership agreement contained specific provisions that protected her interests against exactly the kind of exclusionary tactics that Dylan was attempting to employ. More importantly, his failure to provide proper notice or obtain her consent for major business decisions constituted clear violations of their legal agreement that could void any transactions he pursued without her approval. Maya, the documentation you have provided establishes an exceptionally strong foundation for protecting your ownership rights and challenging any unauthorized business transactions, Rebecca observed during their morning meeting at her downtown law office. The partnership agreement was properly executed and contains comprehensive protections that your brother cannot simply ignore because he has found a buyer willing to overlook legitimate ownership claims. The legal strategy that Rebecca outlined included immediate action to prevent Dylan from proceeding with the proposed sale while building a comprehensive case that could either force recognition of Maya's partnership rights or result in substantial financial compensation for her investment and contributions. The approach would require aggressive litigation tactics that would likely destroy any remaining family relationship, but the financial stakes justified pursuing all available legal remedies. A temporary restraining order would be the first step in preventing Dylan from completing any sale or major business decision without proper legal authorization from all partners. The order would freeze business operations and financial accounts while the court reviewed the partnership dispute and determined the appropriate resolution. This legal intervention would prevent Dylan from liquidating assets or transferring ownership while Maya pursued her claims through the judicial system. The discovery process would require comprehensive examination of all business records, financial transactions, and communications that could reveal the extent of Dylan's deception and unauthorized activities. Rebecca suspected that the secret negotiations with potential buyers represented only the most recent example of decisions made without partner consultation, and additional violations might strengthen Maya's position while increasing potential damage awards. Maya's documentation of her financial investment and operational involvement provided compelling evidence of her contributions to the business success that had attracted buyer interest. The bank records, time logs, and operational improvements could be quantified to demonstrate the value she had created while establishing her.
Rebecca's office would prepare the necessary paperwork for emergency relief while beginning discovery requests that would uncover the full scope of Dylan's unauthorized activities and potential buyer arrangements. The emotional preparation for extended litigation required separating personal feelings about family betrayal from the strategic business considerations that would guide legal proceedings. Maya's professional experience with complex negotiations had taught her to maintain objective analysis even when dealing with hostile counterparts, and those skills would be essential for navigating the challenges ahead. The consulting firm where Maya maintained her primary professional responsibilities had been supportive of her entrepreneurial involvement with the family cafe, viewing it as valuable experience that enhanced her business development capabilities. However, the time demands of litigation and business recovery would require careful management to avoid compromising her established career while pursuing resolution of the partnership dispute. Her supervisor, Jennifer Walsh, understood the complexities of family business relationships and offered flexible scheduling arrangements that would accommodate court appearances and legal meetings without jeopardizing Maya's standing within the firm. The consulting experience had provided exposure to similar partnership conflicts in client organizations, offering relevant insights into effective resolution strategies and potential outcomes. Maya, the situation you are facing unfortunately occurs frequently in family businesses, where personal relationships become complicated by financial interests and decision-making authority, Jennifer observed during their discussion of scheduling accommodations. Your professional approach to documentation and legal protection demonstrates exactly the kind of strategic thinking that makes you valuable to our client organizations. The validation from her professional mentor reinforced Maya's confidence in her approach while providing perspective on how this challenging experience could ultimately enhance her business expertise and career development. The skills developed through managing complex litigation would prove valuable for future consulting engagements while demonstrating her capability for protecting client interests under adverse conditions. The investigation into Dylan's business activities revealed disturbing patterns of financial management that extended far beyond the unauthorized sale negotiations. Rebecca's discovery requests had uncovered evidence of expense account abuse, unauthorized salary increases, and questionable vendor relationships that suggested systematic misappropriation of business resources for personal benefit. The financial records indicated that Dylan had been drawing excessive compensation from cafe operations, while Maya worked without salary during the business recovery period. His monthly draws had increased substantially after the business achieved profitability, reaching levels that exceeded reasonable management compensation for a small food service operation. This pattern suggested deliberate exploitation of the improved financial position that Maya's investment and efforts had created. Vendor invoices revealed payments for personal expenses that had been charged to business accounts, including restaurant bills, entertainment costs, and retail purchases that had no legitimate business purpose. The abuse of business credit and cash flow represented additional violations of fiduciary duty that strengthened Maya's case while demonstrating Dylan's character and reliability as a business partner. The most damaging discovery involved secret agreements with the potential buyers that included provisions for Dylan to receive consulting fees and ongoing compensation that had not been disclosed during their confrontational meeting. The hidden financial arrangements revealed that Dylan's betrayal was more calculated and comprehensive than Maya had realized, involving deliberate deception about the terms and benefits of the proposed transaction. Rebecca's analysis of the buyer agreements revealed multiple provisions that would have been impossible to fulfill without Maya's ongoing involvement in business operations.
The corporate catering contracts that she had been developing were specifically mentioned as valuable assets that justified the acquisition price, yet Dylan had no capability or knowledge necessary for maintaining those relationships without her participation. The corporate clients that Maya had been cultivating represented the most significant component of the business value that attracted buyer interest. Her professional relationships and industry expertise were essential for delivering the catering services that formed the foundation of the acquisition financial projections. Dylan's attempt to exclude her from the transaction would have inevitably resulted in losing the contracts that justified the purchase price. This revelation provided Maya with significant leverage for negotiating resolution of the partnership dispute. The buyers would be forced to either recognize her ongoing role or accept substantial reduction in business value that could affect their willingness to proceed with the acquisition at the proposed terms. The corporate clients themselves represented independent opportunities that Maya could pursue regardless of how the cafe partnership was ultimately resolved. Her professional relationships and proven track record in business development created portable value that could support alternative ventures or consulting opportunities that might exceed the limited scope of partnership with Dylan. Amanda Richardson, the procurement director at Morrison Financial Group, had been particularly impressed with Maya's catering proposal and expressed interest in expanding their potential relationship beyond simple food service to include comprehensive event planning and corporate hospitality services. The broader scope of engagement could support an independent consulting practice that leveraged Maya's business development expertise while providing recurring revenue that exceeded her cafe partnership returns. Maya, your presentation demonstrated exactly the kind of strategic thinking and operational excellence that we value in our vendor relationships, Amanda had explained during their follow-up conversation about contract terms and implementation timeline. We would be interested in discussing expanded engagement that could include corporate event management and client entertainment services that align with your capabilities. The validation from corporate clients provided evidence that Maya's professional value extended far beyond her role in cafe operations while creating opportunities for independent business development that could provide financial security regardless of litigation outcomes. The consulting practice could leverage her established reputation and client relationships while avoiding the complications of family business partnerships. Dr. Sarah Kim, a business strategy consultant whom Maya had worked with on previous client engagements, offered mentorship and guidance for developing an independent consulting practice that could capitalize on her demonstrated expertise in business turnaround and operational improvement. Sarah's experience building a successful consultancy provided valuable insights into the challenges and opportunities of entrepreneurial transition.
The establishment of an independent practice would require careful planning and resource allocation to ensure sustainable growth while maintaining the professional standards that had characterized Maya's career development. Sarah's guidance addressed practical considerations, including client acquisition, service pricing, operational infrastructure, and financial management that would be essential for long-term success. Maya, your experience with business rehabilitation and operational improvement provides exactly the kind of specialized expertise that many small and medium enterprises desperately need, Sarah observed during one of their strategic planning sessions. The cafe turnaround demonstrates your capability for achieving measurable results under challenging conditions, which creates compelling value proposition for potential clients. The consulting practice development provided constructive focus for Maya's energy and expertise while the legal proceedings advanced through the court system. The proactive approach to building alternative opportunities demonstrated her resilience and strategic thinking while creating financial security that reduced dependence on litigation outcomes for her future prosperity. The business plan for Rodriguez Business Solutions incorporated lessons learned from the cafe experience while establishing clear boundaries and protective mechanisms that would prevent future partnership conflicts. The service offerings focused on operational improvement, financial analysis, and strategic planning for small businesses that faced challenges similar to those that had threatened Dylan's Cafe. The target market included family-owned businesses, struggling restaurants, and entrepreneurial ventures that required professional expertise for achieving sustainable profitability and growth. Maya's track record of successful business turnaround provided credible positioning for attracting clients who needed immediate intervention to prevent failure or optimize performance. The financial projections for the consulting practice indicated potential for achieving income levels that significantly exceeded her cafe partnership returns, while providing the independence and professional satisfaction that partnership with Dylan had ultimately failed to deliver. The practice could grow organically through client referrals and reputation building while maintaining flexibility and autonomy that family business relationships had compromised. The legal proceedings continued advancing through discovery and motion practice that gradually revealed the full extent of Dylan's deception and financial mismanagement. Each revelation strengthened Maya's position while demonstrating the wisdom of her decision to pursue comprehensive legal remedies rather than accepting the inadequate buyout terms that Dylan had proposed. The deposition testimony provided under oath revealed Dylan's limited understanding of the business operations that Maya had developed and managed throughout the recovery period. His inability to explain basic financial procedures, vendor relationships, or customer service protocols demonstrated his dependence on her expertise while undermining his claims of independent business leadership and success. Marcus Chen, the business broker who had facilitated the buyer introduction, revealed during his deposition that he had specifically recommended against proceeding with the acquisition if Maya's partnership could not be resolved favorably. His professional assessment that her ongoing involvement was essential for maintaining business value contradicted Dylan's assertions that her participation was unnecessary or problematic. The potential buyers ultimately withdrew their offer when the litigation created uncertainty about clear title and operational continuity that exceeded their risk tolerance for acquisition investments. The collapse of the sale opportunity provided immediate vindication of Maya's legal strategy while forcing Dylan to confront the consequences of his betrayal and poor decision-making. The withdrawn offer created an opportunity for negotiated resolution that could preserve the business while establishing clear boundaries and compensation arrangements that reflected Maya's contributions and protected her interests. Rebecca's negotiation strategy focused on achieving terms that provided Maya with either fair compensation for her investment or continued partnership with appropriate safeguards against future conflicts. Dylan's legal counsel recommended settlement negotiations that could avoid the expense and uncertainty of extended litigation while addressing the legitimate concerns that Maya's case had raised. The mediation process would provide opportunity for structured discussion of resolution options that could preserve business operations while protecting both parties' interests. The mediation sessions revealed that Dylan had been acting on advice from Marcus Chen and other business advisors who had minimized the legal significance of Maya's partnership agreement while overestimating his authority to proceed with major business decisions without partner consultation. The poor advice had led him to pursue strategies that violated his legal obligations, while creating liability exposure that threatened his personal assets beyond the business itself. Maya's willingness to consider settlement terms demonstrated her practical approach to conflict resolution, while maintaining firm boundaries about recognition of her contributions and protection of her financial interests. The mediation process required Dylan to acknowledge his violations of their partnership agreement while committing to business practices that honored her ownership rights and decision-making authority. The settlement agreement that emerged from mediation included provisions for Dylan to buy out Maya's partnership interest at fair market value determined by independent business appraisal, or alternatively, to restructure their partnership with enhanced legal protections and clearly defined roles that prevented future conflicts. The financial terms provided Maya with options for either complete separation with full compensation or continued involvement with stronger safeguards. Maya chose the buyout option that would provide her with capital for developing her independent consulting practice while eliminating the complications of ongoing partnership with someone who had demonstrated fundamental disregard for their legal agreement and family relationship. The settlement amount significantly exceeded Dylan's original inadequate offer while providing immediate resources for pursuing independent opportunities. The business appraisal process confirmed that the cafe's value had increased substantially due to Maya's operational improvements and customer development, validating her contributions while ensuring that the buyout compensation reflected the current market value rather than the distressed condition that had existed before her intervention. The final settlement provided Maya with sufficient capital for establishing her consulting practice while maintaining financial security during the transition period. The legal victory also provided professional vindication that reinforced her confidence in pursuing independent business opportunities that could exceed the limited scope of family partnership arrangements. The consulting practice launched immediately following the settlement completion, with Maya's first client being Amanda Richardson's company, which contracted for comprehensive catering and event management services that demonstrated the broader applications of her business development expertise. The engagement provided immediate revenue while establishing credible market presence for attracting additional clients. The success of Rodriguez Business Solutions exceeded Maya's projections for first-year performance, with client referrals and reputation building creating sustainable growth that provided both financial security and professional satisfaction. The consulting practice launched immediately following the settlement completion, with Maya's first client being Amanda Richardson's company, which contracted for comprehensive catering and event management services that demonstrated the broader applications of her business development expertise. The engagement provided immediate revenue while establishing credible market presence for attracting additional clients. The success of Rodriguez Business Solutions exceeded Maya's projections for next-year performance, with client referrals and reputation building creating sustainable growth that provided both financial security and professional satisfaction. The practice enabled her to apply her business expertise across diverse industries while maintaining the independence and strategic control that partnership with Dylan had ultimately compromised. The relationship with her family required careful navigation following the legal settlement, as Dylan's behavior had damaged trust while creating ongoing tensions around family gatherings and social interactions. Maya's parents struggled to understand the business complexities while maintaining relationships with both their children despite the obvious conflict and betrayal that had occurred. Her mother, Elena Rodriguez, had initially attempted to mediate between the siblings while encouraging Maya to prioritize family harmony over financial considerations. However, the revelation of Dylan's deception and financial mismanagement had gradually shifted Elena's perspective toward recognition that Maya's legal action had been necessary and appropriate given the circumstances. "Maya, we had no idea that Dylan was managing the business so poorly or that he had violated your agreement in such serious ways," Elena acknowledged during one of their private conversations about family dynamics. "We are proud of how you handled this difficult situation while protecting your interests and building something successful independently." The family support provided emotional validation while reinforcing Maya's decision to pursue legal remedies rather than accepting inadequate resolution that would have compromised her financial security and professional integrity. The vindication from her parents helped offset the disappointment of Dylan's betrayal while providing foundation for rebuilding family relationships on more honest and respectful terms. Dylan's acknowledgement of his mistakes during the settlement process had included apologies for his deception and betrayal, though the damage to their sibling relationship would require time and demonstrated behavioral change to repair. The legal proceedings had forced him to confront the consequences of his actions while recognizing Maya's contributions to his business success. The professional growth that Maya experienced through managing the legal challenge and building her independent practice provided skills and confidence that enhanced her consulting capabilities while demonstrating her resilience and strategic thinking under adverse conditions. The experience became a valuable credential that differentiated her services while providing credible examples of successful business problem-solving. Looking ahead to the continued development of Rodriguez Business Solutions, Maya recognized that Dylan's betrayal had ultimately created opportunities for professional independence and financial success that exceeded anything she could have achieved through continued partnership. The consulting practice provided unlimited growth potential while maintaining the autonomy and strategic control that had been compromised by family business relationships. The lesson learned about protecting her interests even in family relationships had informed the business practices and legal structures that governed her consulting operations, ensuring that future partnerships and client relationships included appropriate documentation and safeguards that prevented similar conflicts from arising. The transformation from betrayed partner to successful independent entrepreneur had required developing new capabilities in legal advocacy, strategic planning, and business development that would serve her throughout her professional career. The skills learned through this challenging experience provided competitive advantages while demonstrating her ability to overcome significant obstacles through systematic planning and persistent effort. The corporate clients who continued engaging Rodriguez Business Solutions provided testimony to Maya's professional competence and service quality that validated her decision to pursue independence rather than accept inadequate resolution of the partnership dispute. The client relationships that had been developed during her cafe involvement had grown into comprehensive consulting engagements that exceeded the limited scope of restaurant operations.
The financial success of her independent practice had already surpassed her original investment in Dylan's Cafe, while providing sustainable income that supported her long-term financial goals, including home ownership and retirement planning that had been delayed by her business rescue efforts. The consulting practice provided both immediate prosperity and growth potential that family partnership had never offered. The reputation for successful business turnaround and operational improvement that Maya had established through her cafe experience and subsequent consulting work attracted attention from business organizations and industry associations that invited her to speak at conferences and participate in professional development programs. The speaking opportunities provided additional revenue while building her professional profile and attracting new clients. The networking relationships developed through professional speaking and industry involvement created opportunities for collaboration and strategic partnerships that enhanced her consulting capabilities while expanding her market reach. The professional associations provided resources and support that facilitated continued growth while maintaining the independence that had become central to her business philosophy. The comprehensive business infrastructure that Maya had developed for Rodriguez Business Solutions included systems for client management, project delivery, financial administration, and quality control that ensured sustainable operations while maintaining the service standards that distinguished her practice from competitors. The operational excellence that had characterized her cafe involvement had been systematically applied to building a consultancy that could scale effectively while preserving service quality. The success metrics for the consulting practice exceeded industry benchmarks for first-year performance while providing foundation for expansion into additional service areas and geographic markets that could support continued growth. The business model had proven viable while demonstrating Maya's capability for independent success that transcended the limited opportunities available through family partnerships. The personal satisfaction that Maya derived from building successful independent business operations provided validation that extended beyond financial returns to include professional fulfillment and strategic autonomy that had been absent during her partnership with Dylan. The consulting practice enabled her to apply her expertise effectively while maintaining control over strategic direction and operational decisions that affected her professional future. 18 months after the settlement with Dylan, Maya stood before a packed auditorium at the Pacific Northwest Business Excellence Summit, delivering the keynote address titled From Betrayal to Breakthrough, Building Resilient Business Strategies. The audience of 350 business leaders, entrepreneurs, and industry professionals had gathered to hear her remarkable story of transformation from family business casualty to one of the region's most sought-after turnaround specialists. Rodriguez Business Solutions had evolved far beyond her initial vision of a modest consulting practice serving small businesses in financial distress. The company now employed 12 full-time consultants and maintained offices in Portland, Seattle, and San Francisco, with client engagements spanning the entire western United States. The growth trajectory had exceeded every benchmark Maya had established during her strategic planning process, demonstrating that her expertise in business rehabilitation possessed market value that transcended regional boundaries. The audience represented the culmination of recognition that had built steadily as Maya's reputation for achieving measurable results under challenging conditions attracted attention from increasingly prestigious clients and industry organizations.
Her consulting methodology, refined through dozens of successful engagements, had become a model studied by business schools and replicated by consulting firms seeking to improve their turnaround success rates. The keynote presentation outlined the systematic approach that had enabled Rodriguez Business Solutions to achieve a 93% success rate in preventing business failures while generating average revenue increases of 67% for client organizations. The methodology emphasized thorough diagnostic analysis, stakeholder alignment, operational optimization, and sustainable implementation strategies that addressed root causes rather than superficial symptoms of business distress. Maya's delivery combined professional authority with personal authenticity that resonated with audience members who had faced their own challenges with family business relationships, partnership conflicts, and entrepreneurial setbacks. The vulnerability she demonstrated in sharing her experience with betrayal and recovery provided credible foundation for the business strategies she advocated, while her obvious success validated the effectiveness of her approach. The standing ovation that concluded her presentation lasted nearly 5 minutes, with audience members expressing appreciation not only for her business insights, but also for her courage in transforming personal adversity into professional strength.
The response reflected recognition that her story represented more than business case study. It embodied principles of resilience, strategic thinking, and ethical leadership that transcended industry boundaries. Following the presentation, Maya was approached by Dr. Catherine Weber, Dean of the Portland State University School of Business, who extended an invitation to develop a graduate-level course in business turnaround strategies that would be offered as part of the MBA program's entrepreneurship concentration. The academic recognition represented validation of her expertise while providing opportunities for thought leadership that could enhance her professional reputation and business development. The university partnership would enable Maya to formalize her consulting methodology into academic curriculum while mentoring the next generation of business leaders who would face similar challenges in their professional careers. The teaching role aligned with her growing interest in thought leadership and knowledge transfer that could multiply her impact beyond direct client engagement. Dr. Weber, your practical experience combined with demonstrated results provides exactly the kind of real-world expertise that our MBA students need to understand business turnaround challenges, Catherine explained during their follow-up meeting to discuss curriculum development. The course would address a critical gap in traditional business education while providing students with frameworks they can apply immediately in their careers. The academic appointment carried adjunct professor status that provided institutional credibility while maintaining flexibility for continued consulting operations and business growth. The dual role positioned Maya as both practitioner and educator, enhancing her authority in the turnaround consulting field while creating additional revenue streams and professional development opportunities. The curriculum development process required distilling decades of business experience and 18 months of intensive consulting practice into structured learning objectives and practical applications that could be effectively transmitted to graduate students. Maya's approach emphasized case study methodology that used real client situations to illustrate decision-making frameworks and implementation strategies. The first offering of strategic business turnaround management attracted 42 students and received the highest course evaluations in the entrepreneurship program's history. Students particularly appreciated the integration of theoretical frameworks with practical application exercises that simulated the complexity and time pressure of actual turnaround situations. One student, Jennifer Morrison, had been particularly engaged with the course material and approached Maya about internship opportunities that could provide hands-on experience with business rehabilitation projects. Jennifer's background in financial analysis and strategic planning complemented Rodriguez Business Solutions' service offerings while providing additional capacity for expanding client engagement. The internship program that emerged from Jennifer's inquiry became a formal pipeline for recruiting talented graduate students who could contribute to client projects while gaining practical experience that enhanced their career prospects. The program created competitive advantages for both the university students and Rodriguez Business Solutions, while establishing Maya as a respected mentor and industry leader. Professor Rodriguez, your course has completely changed my perspective on business problem solving and strategic planning, Jennifer observed during one of their mentoring conversations. The frameworks and methodologies you teach provide tools that I can apply immediately in my consulting work while building capabilities for future leadership roles. The positive feedback from students and university administrators led to expanded teaching responsibilities, including guest lecturers in other courses, participation in faculty research projects, and involvement in business school advisory committees that shaped program development and industry partnerships. The academic engagement provided intellectual stimulation while building relationships with other faculty members and business leaders. The consulting practice continued expanding rapidly during this period, with client referrals and reputation-based marketing generating more engagement opportunities than Maya could personally handle. The growth necessitated systematic hiring and training programs that could maintain service quality while scaling operations to meet increasing demand. The recruitment strategy focused on experienced consultants who possessed complementary expertise in areas such as financial restructuring, operations management, marketing strategy, and organizational development. Each new hire underwent comprehensive training in Maya's diagnostic methodology and implementation frameworks to ensure consistent service delivery across all client engagements. Sarah Patterson, a former McKinsey consultant with expertise in operational excellence, became the first senior associate hired by Rodriguez Business Solutions. Her experience with large-scale transformation projects provided capabilities for serving Fortune 500 clients while maintaining the boutique service quality that differentiated the firm from larger consulting organizations. Maya, your approach to business turnaround combines analytical rigor with practical implementation skills that are rare in the consulting industry, Sarah observed during her first month with the firm. The methodology provides frameworks that can be adapted to different industries and company sizes while maintaining focus on measurable results that justify consulting investment. The addition of senior-level consultants enabled Rodriguez Business Solutions to pursue larger engagements while developing specialized practice areas that addressed specific industry challenges and functional requirements. Each new hire underwent comprehensive training in Maya's diagnostic methodology and implementation frameworks to ensure consistent service delivery across all client engagements. Sarah Patterson, a former McKinsey consultant with expertise in operational excellence, became the first senior associate hired by Rodriguez Business Solutions. Her experience with large-scale transformation projects provided capabilities for serving Fortune 500 clients while maintaining the boutique service quality that differentiated the firm from larger consulting organizations. Maya, your approach to business turnaround combines analytical rigor with practical implementation skills that are rare in the consulting industry, Sarah observed during her first month with the firm. The methodology provides frameworks that can be adapted to different industries and company sizes while maintaining focus on measurable results that justify consulting investment. The addition of senior-level consultants enabled Rodriguez Business Solutions to pursue larger engagements while developing specialized practice areas that addressed specific industry challenges and functional requirements. Each new hire underwent comprehensive training in Maya's diagnostic methodology and implementation frameworks to ensure consistent service delivery across all client engagements. Sarah Patterson, a former McKinsey consultant with expertise in operational excellence, became the first senior associate hired by Rodriguez Business Solutions. Her experience with large-scale transformation projects provided capabilities for serving Fortune 500 clients while maintaining the boutique service quality that differentiated the firm from larger consulting organizations. Maya, your approach to business turnaround combines analytical rigor with practical implementation skills that are rare in the consulting industry, Sarah observed during her first month with the firm. The methodology provides frameworks that can be adapted to different industries and company sizes while maintaining focus on measurable results that justify consulting investment. The addition of senior-level consultants enabled Rodriguez Business Solutions to pursue larger engagements while developing specialized practice areas that addressed specific industry challenges and functional requirements.
The diversification strategy reduced dependence on small business turnarounds while expanding market reach and revenue potential. The technology practice area, led by Marcus Thompson, a former Amazon operations manager, focused on helping tech startups and established technology companies navigate growth challenges, funding transitions, and market expansion strategies. The practice combined Maya's turnaround expertise with Marcus's technology industry experience to address the unique challenges faced by high-growth companies. The retail and hospitality practice, managed by Lisa Chen, a former Starbucks regional manager, specialized in helping restaurants, retail chains, and hospitality businesses optimize operations while adapting to changing consumer preferences and market conditions. Lisa's industry experience provided credible positioning for attracting clients who needed immediate intervention to prevent failure or capitalize on growth opportunities. The nonprofit practice area represented Maya's commitment to applying her business expertise for social impact while building relationships with community organizations and philanthropic foundations. The pro bono engagements provided meaningful opportunities for giving back while demonstrating corporate social responsibility that enhanced the firm's reputation and employee satisfaction. One particularly impactful nonprofit engagement involved helping the Portland Community Food Network restructure their operations to eliminate chronic budget deficits while expanding their capacity to serve food-insecure families throughout the metropolitan area. The project required applying business principles to mission-driven organization while respecting the unique culture and stakeholder relationships that characterize nonprofit operations. The Food Network transformation achieved 35% cost reduction while increasing service capacity by 50%, enabling the organization to serve an additional 2,000 families monthly without requiring increased funding from donors or government sources. The success attracted attention from other nonprofit organizations and philanthropic foundations who sought similar operational improvements. Maya's involvement with the Food Network led to appointment to the board of directors for the Oregon Association of Nonprofit Organizations, where she provided strategic guidance for the statewide network of charitable organizations while advocating for improved business practices and financial management within the nonprofit sector. The board appointment provided platform for thought leadership on nonprofit governance and operational excellence while building relationships with influential community leaders and philanthropic decision-makers. The role enhanced Maya's professional profile while creating opportunities for business development and strategic partnerships. The recognition within the nonprofit community led to speaking engagements at national conferences and publication opportunities in sector publications that established Maya as an expert in nonprofit business strategy and organizational development. The thought leadership activities provided additional revenue while building national reputation that attracted clients from outside the Pacific Northwest region. The International Association of Business Turnaround Professionals invited Maya to join their board of directors, recognizing her innovative methodology and exceptional success rate in preventing business failures. The appointment positioned her among the most respected practitioners in the turnaround consulting field while providing access to global best practices and industry trends. The IABTP board role required participation in professional development initiatives, certification programs, and industry research projects that advance the field while maintaining high standards for practitioner competence and ethical conduct. Maya's involvement in setting industry standards and educational requirements enhanced her credibility while contributing to the professionalization of turnaround consulting. The board appointment also provided opportunities for international client development and strategic partnerships with consulting firms in other countries. The global perspective enhanced Maya's understanding of business challenges while creating potential for international expansion of Rodriguez Business Solution services. During this period of professional recognition and business growth, Maya maintained regular communication with her family while carefully managing the relationship boundaries that protected her independence and prevented recurrence of the conflicts that had characterized her partnership with Dylan. The success of her consulting practice had gradually shifted family dynamics towards greater respect for her business acumen and decision-making authority. Her parents, Elena and Roberto Rodriguez, had initially struggled to understand the complexity of the business dispute with Dylan while hoping that their children could resolve their differences without permanent damage to family relationships. However, the obvious success of Maya's independent practice had provided compelling evidence that her strategic approach had been both necessary and effective for protecting her interests and maximizing her potential. Elena's perspective on the family conflict had evolved significantly as she observed Maya's professional achievements and recognition within the business community. The pride she felt in her daughter's success was tempered by regret about the family dysfunction that had prompted Maya's departure from the cafe partnership, but she had come to understand that independence had ultimately enabled achievements that would have been impossible within the constraints of family business relationships. Maya, we are so proud of what you have accomplished with your consulting business and the recognition you have received from professional organizations, Elena acknowledged during one of their regular family dinners. We realize now that your decision to pursue legal remedies was necessary for protecting your interests and that Dylan's behavior was inappropriate and damaging to your relationship. The family support provided emotional validation while reinforcing Maya's confidence in the strategic decisions that had enabled her transformation, from betrayed partner to successful entrepreneur. The recognition from her parents helped offset the disappointment of Dylan's betrayal while providing foundation for rebuilding family relationships on more honest and respectful terms. Roberto's engineering background enabled him to appreciate the systematic methodology and analytical rigor that characterized Maya's consulting approach. His professional experience with complex technical projects provided framework for understanding the business challenges that his daughter addressed, while recognizing the expertise required for achieving consistent positive outcomes. Maya, your approach to business problem solving reminds me of the engineering design process we use for complex infrastructure projects, Roberto observed during one of their conversations about her consulting work. The emphasis on thorough analysis, systematic planning, and measurable results reflect the same principles that ensure successful completion of challenging technical assignments.
The validation from her father provided particularly meaningful recognition given his professional background and analytical perspective. Roberto's appreciation for her business methodology reinforced Maya's confidence in her approach, while demonstrating that her expertise commanded respect, even from family members who had initially underestimated her capabilities.
Dylan's response to Maya's success had been more complex and emotionally charged, reflecting his ongoing struggle with guilt about his betrayal, while attempting to manage his own business challenges without the operational expertise that she had provided. The cafe continued operating under his sole ownership, but financial performance had declined significantly since Maya's departure, despite the improved market position that her efforts had created. The corporate catering contracts that Maya had developed had been lost within 6 months of her departure, as Dylan lacked the professional relationships and service capabilities necessary for maintaining the quality standards that business clients required. The revenue decline had forced him to reduce staff and operating hours while struggling to maintain basic profitability that would prevent return to the financial crisis that had originally threatened the business. Dylan's attempts to contact Maya for business advice and potential reconciliation had been politely declined, as she maintained boundaries that protected her emotional well-being while preventing recurrence of the exploitation that had characterized their previous partnership. The success of her independent practice provided sufficient financial security and professional satisfaction that she had no interest in returning to family business relationships that had proven problematic. The contrast between Maya's thriving consulting practice and Dylan's struggling cafe operations provided clear demonstration of the value that she had contributed to the business, while validating her decision to pursue independent opportunities rather than accepting inadequate compensation for her partnership's stake. The market had effectively judged the relative contributions of each sibling while rewarding Maya's expertise and strategic thinking. Marcus Chen, the business broker who had facilitated the failed sale attempt, had approached Maya through professional channels to apologize for his role in the partnership dispute, while acknowledging that his advice to Dylan had been inappropriate and legally problematic. The apology provided closure while demonstrating that industry professionals recognized Maya's expertise and ethical conduct throughout the challenging situation. Marcus, your professional conduct during the partnership dispute was exemplary, and your legal strategy was both appropriate and effective for protecting your interests, Chan acknowledged during their conversation at an industry networking event. Dylan received poor advice from several sources, and the outcome demonstrates the importance of honoring legal agreements and partnership obligations. The acknowledgement from industry professionals provided additional validation while demonstrating that Maya's reputation had not been damaged by the partnership conflict or litigation that had been necessary for protecting her interests. The professional community had recognized the legitimacy of her position while respecting her approach to resolving the dispute. The second anniversary of Rodriguez Business Solutions provided opportunity for comprehensive reflection on the transformation that had occurred since Dylan's betrayal and the strategic decisions that had enabled extraordinary professional and personal growth. The consulting practice had achieved revenue of $4.7 million while maintaining profit margins that exceeded industry averages and provided sustainable foundation for continued expansion. The client portfolio included Fortune 500 corporations, emerging technology companies, established retail chains, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies that represented diverse industries and organizational challenges. The breadth of client engagement demonstrated the universal applicability of Maya's methodology, while providing protection against economic downturns that might affect specific sectors. The employee satisfaction surveys indicated exceptional engagement and retention rates that reflected the positive workplace culture and professional development opportunities that Maya had created within Rodriguez Business Solutions. The firm's reputation as an employer of choice attracted top talent while maintaining service quality that differentiated the organization from larger consulting competitors. The financial success had enabled Maya to achieve personal goals that had been delayed by her investment in Dylan's Cafe, while building wealth that provided security for future opportunities and challenges. The condominium purchase in Northwest Portland represented both practical housing solution and investment opportunity that aligned with her long-term financial planning objectives.
The property selection process had emphasized location convenience for business operations while providing lifestyle amenities that supported work-life balance during periods of intensive client engagement. The home office space enabled effective management of consulting operations while maintaining professional presence for client meetings and team collaboration. The interior design reflected Maya's professional success while creating an environment that supported both relaxation and productivity. The contemporary furnishings and technology infrastructure provided functional workspace while expressing personal style that reflected her achievements and aspirations. The housewarming celebration included colleagues, clients, university associates, and family members who represented the diverse professional and personal relationships that had supported Maya's transformation from betrayed partner to successful entrepreneur. The gathering provided opportunity for reflecting on achievements while building relationships that would support continued growth and development. Dr. Catherine Weber attended the celebration and took the opportunity to announce that Maya had been selected to receive the university's Distinguished Alumni Award in recognition of her professional achievements and contributions to business education. The award represented the highest honor bestowed by the business school while providing platform for increased visibility and thought leadership opportunities. Maya, your transformation from student to successful practitioner to respected educator demonstrates the kind of lifelong learning and professional development that we hope to inspire in all our graduates, Catherine announced during the celebration. Your consulting methodology and teaching approach provide models that benefit both current students and business practitioners throughout the region. The award ceremony would be held during the university's annual business symposium, providing opportunity for Maya to deliver a major address to alumni, faculty, students, and business leaders while sharing insights about entrepreneurship, resilience, and strategic planning that had characterized her professional journey. The symposium presentation preparation required developing comprehensive framework for sharing her experience while providing actionable insights that audience members could apply in their own professional situations. The address would combine personal narrative with business strategy while demonstrating the connection between individual resilience and organizational success. Jennifer Morrison, who had completed her internship and been hired as a full-time consultant, approached Maya about developing a case study based on her family business experience that could be used in business school curricula and professional development programs. The case study would provide educational resource while documenting the strategic decisions and implementation approaches that had enabled successful transformation.
Professor Rodriguez, your story provides compelling example of how personal challenges can become catalysts for professional growth and innovation, Jennifer observed during their discussion of the case study project. The frameworks and methodologies you developed could benefit other business professionals who face similar partnership conflicts and family relationship challenges. The case study development required careful analysis of decision-making processes, strategic alternatives, and implementation challenges, while protecting confidential information and respecting the privacy interests of family members and business associates. The educational resource would focus on transferable principles rather than specific details that might compromise relationships or business interests. The Harvard Business Review expressed interest in publishing an article based on Maya's consulting methodology and transformation story, providing platform for thought leadership that could reach global audience of business practitioners and academic researchers. The article would establish Maya as a recognized expert in business turnaround strategies while building reputation that could support international expansion of consulting services. The publication process required extensive research and analysis to support the strategic frameworks, while providing empirical evidence of their effectiveness across diverse client situations and industry contexts. The article would combine theoretical foundation with practical application examples that demonstrated measurable results and sustainable implementation. The media attention generated by Maya's professional achievements and recognition included feature articles in regional business publications, interviews on business television programs, and speaking invitations at national conferences that established her as thought leader in the turnaround consulting field. Portland Business Monthly featured Maya on their cover as Entrepreneur of the Year, highlighting her transformation from family business casualty to successful consulting firm founder, while emphasizing the innovative methodology and exceptional results that differentiated Rodriguez Business Solutions from competitors.
The cover story generated significant business development opportunities while attracting attention from potential strategic partners, acquisition candidates, and expansion opportunities that could accelerate growth while maintaining service quality and workplace culture that characterized the firm's operations. The Pacific Northwest Business Journal published an extensive profile that examined Maya's consulting methodology while analyzing the market dynamics and competitive advantages that had enabled rapid growth in the crowded business consulting sector. The article provided industry analysis while validating the strategic decisions that had positioned Rodriguez Business Solutions for continued success. The media coverage attracted interest from private equity firms and strategic buyers who recognized the growth potential and market position that Maya had created within the business turnaround consulting niche. The acquisition discussions provided insights into firm valuation while creating options for future exit strategies or growth capital that could support expanded operations. Maya's response to acquisition interest reflected her commitment to maintaining control over strategic direction and workplace culture while remaining open to partnerships that could accelerate growth without compromising service quality or employee satisfaction. The discussions provided valuable market feedback while reinforcing her confidence in the business model and competitive positioning. The third anniversary celebration for Rodriguez Business Solutions coincided with announcement of the firm's selection as Consulting Firm of the Year by the Pacific Northwest Business Association, recognizing exceptional client results, innovative methodology, and positive community impact that distinguished the organization within the professional services sector. The award ceremony provided platform for Maya to address industry leaders while sharing insights about building sustainable consulting practices that balance growth objectives with service quality and employee development. The recognition validated her strategic approach while providing credibility for continued expansion and market leadership. The acceptance speech emphasized the importance of resilience, strategic thinking, and ethical conduct in building businesses that create value for all stakeholders while maintaining sustainable competitive advantages. Maya's message resonated with audience members who faced their own challenges in building and scaling professional service organizations. Looking ahead to future opportunities and challenges, Maya recognized that the success of Rodriguez Business Solutions had created foundation for pursuing increasingly ambitious objectives while maintaining the independence and strategic control that had become central to her professional identity and personal satisfaction. The international expansion opportunities represented natural evolution for consulting practice that had achieved market leadership within regional markets while developing methodologies that could address business challenges across diverse cultural and regulatory contexts. The global perspective could enhance service offerings while building relationships that supported growth and development. The technology investments required for supporting international operations included communication systems, project management platforms, and knowledge management databases that could maintain service quality while coordinating activities across multiple time zones and cultural contexts. The infrastructure development represented significant capital commitment while providing capabilities for serving a global client base. The partnership opportunities with international consulting firms provided alternatives to independent expansion while leveraging established market presence and cultural expertise that could accelerate client development and service delivery. The strategic alliances could provide market access while maintaining operational control and service quality standards. The acquisition opportunities within the turnaround consulting sector provided potential for rapid scaling while consolidating market share and eliminating competitive threats. The roll-up strategy could create dominant market position while providing exit opportunities for competing firm owners who sought retirement or career transitions. Maya's evaluation of strategic alternatives reflected her commitment to building sustainable value while maintaining the workplace culture and service quality that had differentiated Rodriguez Business Solutions from larger consulting organizations. The growth strategies would need to preserve competitive advantages while creating opportunities for continued innovation and market leadership. The personal satisfaction that Maya derived from building successful business operations provided validation that extended beyond financial returns to include professional fulfillment and strategic autonomy that had been absent during her partnership with Dylan. The consulting practice had become a vehicle for applying her expertise effectively while maintaining control over strategic direction and operational decisions. The mentoring relationships with university students, junior consultants, and other women entrepreneurs provided opportunities for giving back while building leadership capabilities that would support continued professional development. The teaching and mentoring activities created a legacy that extended beyond immediate business success while contributing to development of future business leaders. The family relationships had stabilized around mutual respect and appreciation for individual achievements, while maintaining appropriate boundaries that protected Maya's independence and prevented recurrence of the conflicts that had prompted her departure from the cafe partnership.
The evolution demonstrated that family connections could survive business disputes while adapting to changed circumstances and personal growth. Dylan's recent outreach had included formal apology for his betrayal and acknowledgement of Maya's contributions to his business success, while expressing hope that their sibling relationship could be rebuilt on more honest and respectful foundation. The apology represented an important step toward potential reconciliation while respecting the boundaries that Maya had established for protecting her emotional well-being. Maya, we both know that I made serious mistakes in how I handled our business partnership, and that my betrayal damaged our relationship in ways that cannot be easily repaired, Dylan wrote in his letter requesting opportunity for personal conversation. I want you to know that I recognize your contributions to the cafe's success and that I am genuinely proud of what you have accomplished with your consulting business. The apology provided acknowledgement that Maya had sought while demonstrating Dylan's recognition of how his behavior had affected their relationship and her professional development. The request for reconciliation would require careful consideration of whether meaningful improvement in their relationship was possible while maintaining the boundaries that protected her interests. The consideration of family reconciliation reflected Maya's commitment to preserving valuable relationships while protecting the independence and strategic autonomy that had enabled her professional success. The potential for rebuilt sibling relationship would depend on Dylan's demonstrated commitment to changed behavior and respect for her boundaries and achievements. The reflection on her transformation from betrayed partner to successful entrepreneur provided perspective on how adversity could become catalyst for growth and achievement that exceeded original aspirations and capabilities. The experience had required developing new competencies in legal advocacy, strategic planning, and business development, while demonstrating resilience and determination that would serve her throughout future challenges. The lessons learned about protecting her interests and maintaining appropriate boundaries had informed her approach to all subsequent business relationships, while preventing recurrence of the exploitation and betrayal that had characterized her family partnership experience. The hard-earned wisdom provided competitive advantages while building reputation for ethical conduct and strategic thinking. The financial security and professional recognition that Maya had achieved through building Rodriguez Business Solutions provided foundation for pursuing increasingly ambitious objectives while maintaining the independence and strategic control that had become central to her identity and aspirations. The consulting practice had exceeded every expectation while demonstrating the value of her expertise and dedication. The community impact of her work extended beyond individual client success to include job creation, economic development, and professional education that contributed to regional business ecosystem while building reputation for corporate social responsibility and community engagement. The positive impact provided meaning and purpose that complemented financial success. The speaking engagements, university teaching, and thought leadership activities had established Maya as a recognized expert whose insights were sought by business leaders, academic researchers, and media organizations seeking authoritative perspective on business turnaround strategies and entrepreneurial development. The platform provided opportunities for continued influence. The professional networks and strategic relationships that Maya had developed through her consulting practice, academic involvement, and industry leadership provided resources and opportunities that would support continued growth and development throughout her career. The relationship capital represented a valuable asset that enhanced her capabilities while creating competitive advantages. Looking toward the future, Maya understood that Dylan's betrayal had ultimately provided the catalyst for personal and professional transformation that would not have been possible within the constraints of family business partnership. The painful experience had forced her to develop independence and strategic thinking capabilities while building business operations that reflected her values and aspirations. The success of Rodriguez Business Solutions demonstrated that systematic effort, strategic planning, and ethical conduct could overcome significant obstacles while creating opportunities that exceeded original expectations and capabilities.
The transformation from betrayed sister to successful entrepreneur had required sustained commitment to excellence while maintaining integrity and resilience through challenging circumstances. The recognition and validation that Maya had received from clients, colleagues, industry organizations, and academic institutions provided evidence that her approach to business consulting and professional development had created genuine value while building sustainable competitive advantages. The reputation for excellence had become foundation for continued opportunities and achievements. The financial independence and professional autonomy that she had achieved through building successful consulting practice provided security and freedom that enabled pursuit of increasingly ambitious objectives while maintaining strategic control over her career trajectory and personal development. The independence had become an essential component of her identity and aspirations. The impact that Maya had created through her consulting work, teaching activities, and thought leadership extended beyond individual achievements to include positive influence on business practices, educational programs, and professional development initiatives that would benefit future generations of business leaders and entrepreneurs. The transformation story had become inspiration for other business professionals who faced similar challenges with family partnerships, business betrayals, and entrepreneurial transitions, while demonstrating that adversity could become catalyst for growth and achievement that exceeded original expectations and capabilities. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.